Ooh, what's happening, man? I don't know if I'm gonna put this on YouTube or not. I don't know. I have the urge to talk about this. Um, I guess it kind of depends on what I end up saying because I have no idea what I'm gonna say. I just so Infinite Corridors reminded me of a movie that I had watched before called Bliss, and it's essentially about just directly about simulation theory, kind of exploring an iteration of simulation theory, what that could look like. But the difference between this film and others is that it directly talks about one of the theories that many of us kind of like maybe not necessarily have but consider to be a possibility. I don't really subscribe to this version, like not exactly. There's a part of it that I do subscribe to, but the initial part, the way that it starts, I don't, that doesn't resonate with me. But it doesn't mean that I'm right. It just, when I hear that, I don't think, I have a view that what you are currently in this place, in this simulation, I believe it's a simulation. You don't have to. But what I believe is that you're not so different in here from what you are, wherever else. And what I mean by that is like the personality that you have in here, the person that you are in here is a version of you out there. I believe that the only difference is that out there you have more knowledge. You understand what's actually happening. You don't have memory loss. Nothing is manipulating your perspective on quote unquote reality. But you're still essentially this being that's in here, and sure, more knowledge would likely change you somewhat, but the core of you, I believe, is this person in here, and it's kind of like a give or take situation where it's, not exactly the same because some things in here have not happened to you out there, potentially, and you have, again, much greater knowledge and understanding out there. But I say that I have something stuck in my teeth. Sorry. I say that because I vehemently disagree with the theory that I chose these experiences or that I chose to come in here. And again, I could be wrong. I'm being honest about what resonates with me. And for all I know, I could be sitting out there and just like in the movie, wake up and be like, wow, I completely forgot. This works really well. I completely forgot. And again, just like the movie, I could have been the one to design this shit. But that doesn't resonate with me. And so I'm going to be honest about that. I'm not trying to oppose anyone else's, theory or feelings or perspective or anything like that. I'm just very honest about my own. The movie itself is a good movie. It will suck you in, especially if you study or research or even, half pay attention to simulation research and theories. It upset me. It didn't make me mad necessarily, although I thought it did at first, but it upset me because it's so close to what many of us discuss right now as far as research as far as simulation theory and what we view this place to be and to potentially be. It's almost as if the writers either are interested in those discussions and in that research, or, the reason why it kind of got to me was like, there's always the possibility that, there are producers and Hollywood is very, very like manipulative and almost mocking at some points. This is not a small movie, so it's not as though this is just someone that's closer to you or I that wrote this and just happened to get it made. You know, it's got Selma Hayek and not Owen Wilson, the other Wilson. My bad. I like that dude. I like that dude better than Owen Wilson. That sucks. I can't remember his name. His brother, his brother, the blonde Wilson. And there are personal to me aspects of this film that really, like, whether it be true or not, felt like nudges at me, like pokes at me, and that, whatever, that may sound crazy or whatever, but I'm really into film, I'm really, really, really into film. And, it really did feel personal. It felt personal. Sometimes it felt like almost like not a personal attack necessarily, but just like I said, like a personal poke. I don't know of a better way to describe it than that. But there are aspects of not feeling right in this place. The main character, he has a job, but he hates the job. He's sitting at his desk and he's just like drawing, but he's drawing this place that he sees in his mind, and this woman that he sees in his mind, and she's so beautiful and elegant, and she's smoking and looks so sexy and all this other shit. And he's drawing these landscapes that are also beautiful, and he names them. He names different aspects of them. There's a hotel called the Pleiades, Play at Ease. Just everything about it at the very beginning just hit me, like, fuck, dude, before, and I didn't remember this movie at all, so I'm kind of going into it with almost a fresh mind. Pretty much, yeah, fresh mind, because you're aware that there is a simulation aspect to the movie, even the first time that you watch it, unless you don't look at any trailers or any synopsis or anything like that. So it was pretty much like watching it the first time. I didn't remember it very much at all. Very, very lightly. So the first scenes really got to me, because if you've watched any of my other videos, I've said before, I feel very, very out of place here. I don't feel natural to this place. It doesn't feel natural in the way that it behaves and in the way that it functions. And I don't enjoy it. There are aspects of it that I enjoy, but in totality, I don't enjoy it. And, that doesn't have to make one depressed or any other, emotions that can be seen as negative. But I will be honest in that I don't enjoy it altogether. And I think that there are many that don't enjoy it, even if they don't subscribe to or even know about simulation theory. Because there are many that don't know shit about simulation theory. That's never occurred to them. And they've seen the Matrix movies, To them, that's just a movie. That's all it is. The other movies, they don't see the correlation between, wow, that kind of describes how I feel, or, wow, so there's the Matrix, and then Ready Player One, and then Other Life, and then all these movies that seem to be talking about how this isn't the real thing. Some people don't do that. They could have watched every single simulation movie that there's been, and they still don't make a correlation that could be talking about their existence in reality, And so, yeah, the first, it really hit. I'm not currently working a job, but obviously I've worked jobs before. I've never had a job that I just loved. And I hear some beings talk about that, and I'm like, how uneven and unfair it is that we all don't get to experience a life where we greatly enjoy what we do every day. We get to feel a passion for what we do every day and feel like we're offering something not only to ourselves, but to others. I think we all deserve that. I think that that's something that should be, basic. That should be the basic framework of our existence. And going on that kind of line of thought, that's a theme within the movie. I'm trying to not do the thing where I tell you the whole plot, but I'm just gonna randomly talk about parts of it without going into linear plot shit. There's another portion in the movie where when they're in the real world, she talks about how very close to this reality where things got so bad that people were just dying. People were just dying, and the way that they solved it was automation. You know what I mean? I don't fucking think automation's horrible in every sense, but they got to put their little automation, right? Let's do it. They got to do that with their fucking Hollywood movies. Automation, bioengineering, I think it was some sort of bioscience, and a change in politics, meaning they started. Because of the automation and the bioscience, they were able to start offering everyone money, which seems stupid to me. That's semantical. You could just say the need for money became less of a function. It's more of like an exchange instead of like the haves and have-nots situation that we have had for all of history as we know it, as it's been told to us. I don't believe it's always been that way. There are stories of Atlantis and whatnot where, money was not a thing, but then that also corrupted Atlantis, which is sort of a theme here potentially, but not necessarily. One of the things that really got to me, that really made me, not sad. I don't know how to describe the feeling it gave me, but it was a familiar feeling, and it felt like almost kind of too close to home almost. Let me collect, I'm going to collect my thought real quick on that because I want to say it correctly. All right, we're going to try this again. I finished that entire video and Instagram ate it. Just gone. So let's try again. So the thing that kind of hit me in a specific way was the way that they chose to kind of embody the nature of being able to, not only see this realm in the movie as a simulation, but to be able to manipulate it, to be able to have essentially like powers, was a drug. It was they looked like yellow crystals, little yellow diamonds. And when you took these, you could manipulate things around you. You could, do all kinds of stuff, levitate things, crush things, move things, make people fall over, all kinds of stuff. And, there's a theory that I have that is unsubstantiated by any sense of the word, but it's having to do with something that I've heard many others say along with myself. And, most of those that I have resonated with have a similar experience where, because we don't feel right in this place, because this place doesn't feel natural to us, and we feel a sense of emptiness, longing, disassociation, many different kind of terms for a similar feeling of this isn't how I am supposed to be. This isn't how I'm supposed to exist. This isn't how it is supposed to be, however you want to say it. Many of the beings that feel that way, it's kind of two things. Many of those beings gravitate towards some kind of what is considered to be or called in society addiction. And not just chemical or molecule addiction, just addiction in general. Something that creates a change in the perception, a change in the physical condition or being. Whether it just be a head change, or it is a physical body sensation change, or, as I said, a change in perception. And to be clear, there are some that don't apply in this theory, such as like You know, when you take the concept of being addicted to working out, some are addicted to working out because of the physical feeling they get from it, chemical changes to their body that can feel like a high. That is what I mean. Now, those that are addicted to working out because of the physical changes aesthetically to their body, meaning they're addicted to looking a specific way and the pursuit of looking in that specific way, that's not exactly what I mean. And it's definitely complex because, you know, there's a million things in between those two examples. But many of us are, you know, we don't feel comfortable as is in this place. And so because of that, we tend to be predisposed to, you know, many things. There's those that have dependency stuff. There's those that have trust issues. There's those that have, you know, various versions of things that are not seen as so common. Whether that's true or not, you know, we could debate that, honestly, because I think that we're kind of lied to, if you really think about it, as far as the numbers, the statistics go. And this character in the movie, as I mentioned, when it first comes up, he's obviously, you know, not happy with how his life is. And you could say that's due to traumas and things that have happened recently in the movie. But to use it more as an example of the theory that I'm talking about, the fact that he's already like drawing pictures instead of working, you could say that that has to do with what happened to him recently with his marriage and his kids and stuff like that. But more specifically, what I'm referencing is those of us that kind of just feel that way naturally. You know, even when I was younger and playing in bands and living with, you know, friends that I was really happy and spending time with, I still, you know, smoked weed all the time. And we you know, did party stuff all the time, mushrooms and you know, ecstasy and acid and all these things. And on one hand, you could say those were, you know, experience based, like we hadn't experienced those things and we're young and adventurous and so on. And that is true. But for myself personally, it wasn't just that. It was that I felt better in those other states of consciousness, those altered states of consciousness, because the natural state didn't feel good to me. And also, when I'm in that natural state, I tend to focus much more on the things that I see and experience here that are not good. They're not good. They're not logical. They don't make sense. The overwhelming sense of empathetic you know, emotions and feelings that I have, even for those that are not in my direct vicinity, not in my direct radius, they are overwhelming still, and were at those times. So at those times, it was so overwhelming that it just you know, whenever I could, I would smoke. At the very least, I would smoke weed and cigarettes, drink, you know, the kind of commonly accepted things that you see within those spheres. But then on top of those, mushrooms, acid, all kinds of stuff, you know. And it was a pursuit as much as it was a change in state. A pursuit for meaning, a pursuit for a better physical feeling, because it was very much physical. I've said many times, maybe not on here, but many times to those that have been around me, like, when I am in the natural state, the original state, I get so what we call anxious. I don't know that that's what that is. That I feel like I feel like I'm going to bust out of my skin. You know, that's the best way that I've been able to put it into words. It's such an intense feeling of what we, you know, describe as anxiety, what we call anxiety, physical anxiety, that it's almost, you know, indescribable. And it's, you know, something that becomes very, very uncomfortable. And, you know, I think that there are many that have similar experiences. Maybe not the physical, maybe it's just mental. But, you know, many of those that I have resonated with, played in bands with, called sisters, called brothers, and so on, have a similar, you know, description of their experience here. And that is, you know, many times why they drink or why they smoke or why they're addicted to thrills like, you know, sex addiction or jumping out of airplanes, you know, whatever it may be. And again, not to say that it's always that, but many times those that they kind of go over the limit, you know, they go over the line, and those moments make them feel natural or better or okay. I've noticed that many of us kind of have a similar thought where we don't necessarily feel right when we're not, you know, pursuing those things or doing those things. And the character in this movie, within that same scene where he's drawing and stuff, he, you know, has a prescription and he crushes it and snorts it, and you find out that it's what seems to be like a painkiller or opiate or something like that. So even before the yellow crystals, he's already disassociating. He's already using a crutch to kind of get through this experience that we call reality. And, you know, the fact of it is that he has an experience where he is already kind of not fulfilled in life, and he meets the other character in a bar, you know, and you could say that it wouldn't necessarily be something you'd expect because he works, you know, in a middle-class job or whatever, and she seems to be, you know, a completely different type person. And, she, you know, says to him that she can help him, and she, you know, there's a situation where he accidentally kills his boss. In a way, it was like manslaughter. He didn't even push him. He just kind of makes him fall backwards and hit his head on a desk. And he hides the body, and he gets out of there, goes to the bar. She says she can help him, and she uses the crystals to use the manipulation of the simulation power, and he falls out the window. Everybody assumes that he kills himself, and I'm going to come back and touch on that later as to a different aspect that helped me with. But you know, I one of the things that I really noticed about this movie was that kind of theme where they kept drawing a correlation to, is this real, or are they just on drugs? Are they just so, you know, disassociated from reality and what's actually happening because of these yellow crystals and because they're codependent? But my thought on it is, you know, it's kind of both, you know, because your perception becomes your reality while they're in this place. It is their reality. And that's, you know, another theme that's of it is that they start to lose themselves. But as they become more and more like codependent, because she tells him, you're my guy, you know, outside of the simulation, they're married essentially. You know, I don't know if it's official because they have different last names, but they're together. I'll say it like that. They're together, and she tells him, you're my guy. And he doesn't, you know, remember any of this. And that really got to me because that's one of the things that we discuss pretty regularly is that, you know, we supposedly chose to come in here and, you know, chose all the experiences that we're having. And, you know, it just doesn't sit right with me that that would be the case, but it is very possible. It is very possible. And because of that, you know, she has to almost get him to fall back in love with her again and show him that this is just essentially like it's not a game, but it is a game. It's something to remind them in their much better reality that it could be much worse. That's the whole reason that she, as a scientist outside of this place, developed the brain box. You know. but he got lost. He got lost, and she notices at one point that he is bringing her in with him into losing herself. And so, you know, that really, really pulled some strings within me, because, as I said, you know, that's something that I've dealt with before. I don't know that I like to call it addiction. I'm just using that word to convey what I mean easily so that you understand quickly what I mean. But there are those that would call themselves addicts and stuff like that. And I do think that I am going to kind of add that as an actual study within my research, because not only do I want to look at the correlation between altered states of consciousness and as they pertain to those that we kind of view as higher level consciousness, those that you wouldn't consider to be, you know, what many call non-personal consciousnesses, NPCs and whatnot, or even those that are slightly above that can be shown, that can see these things if you show them. They don't see them or notice them on their own, but they can contemplate them, and they can kind of be cognizant of them if you explain them to them, if you show them examples and things like that. But those that are on the higher spectrum of that just see these things, and once you see it, you can't really unsee it. That's a thing I'm going to add to my research, looking into that and doing, interviews and studies. But another aspect of it is those that are on that same kind of wavelength. If it's something where, you know, you have the specific sensation of just feeling better within your avatar, or feeling better within this experience because of, you know, the outside stimuli, whatever that might be. You know, you could call it addiction or you could call it something else. Because honestly, I don't resonate with calling it addiction necessarily myself, because it's not so much that you're addicted to the substance, it's that you're addicted to not feeling that discomfort that you naturally feel in this place and in the experiences that this place gives you. And to me, there is a designation between the two. It's not to say that every single person that has, molecule dependency, or they use molecules, that it's for that reason. But that is what the experiments and interviews and research would be for. Man, I'm so mad about that video. I'm having a hard time. You know how you do something, and you do it the first time and you're really happy with it, and maybe something happens, you have to redo it again, and all you can think about is recreating that first iteration of it. That's essentially what's happening right now. And I'm struggling to recapture what I got the first time. But anyway, the another theme that is kind of attached to that, are they just on drugs or are they actually in a simulation thing, is, they give you examples that kind of suggest both. But the reason that I feel like, at least in this movie, they were actually in a simulation, the story I told earlier about the boss dying, they get out. She makes an executive kind of decision and says, we got to get out. You don't remember. That's dangerous. I'm worried about you. And so they go get another form of crystal that's called blue crystals. And they don't have enough. They're supposed to do 10 each. And that is the algorithmic protocol for them to be, safely taken out of the simulation. But they don't have 20. They have 16. So they do it anyway because she's worried about them. And, they get out, she shows them everything and blah, blah, blah. And then when they go back in, the boss is living again. But this time he remembers being outside of the simulation. He doesn't remember his entire life, but he at least remembers going out and coming back in. And so The boss is alive, and then there's another scene where, kind of towards the beginning, there are 3 background characters that just kind of spawn behind them while they're talking. And they don't just walk out from a corner or something like that that looks more natural. They literally pop up walking, and they're all identical. So that kind of lets you know, okay, so there is something going on, because that's not in their direct, point of view or vantage. And so there's not really a reason for that to be there other than for the viewer. So, from my vantage, they were actually in a simulation, though there were other parts where it kind of pointed at them being just really fucked up. It's difficult to really convey how this place makes some of us feel, I think. There are many that look at us talking about simulation theory and all this stuff, and they think that something is wrong with our mental capacities. Like, I had a comment a while ago where the dude's like, put the drugs down. And it's like, it's a sad thing for someone for that to be their response to someone kind of being so honest and open about these feelings and this interpretation and perception of this place, because it's a complete lack of empathy. And as I said, in response to someone that kind of like defended me in that point, it shows more about them than it does me, because they don't really know anything about this place as much as I don't. But the fact that they assume that they know and apply that to others shows the kind of lack of empathy that we many times attach to non-personal consciousnesses and the variations of that. The movie is a vehicle for me, in a sense, more so than anything, just to kind of like contemplate the possibility and probability of what this place is. And it doesn't offer you an answer necessarily, though. For me it does. For me it's very plain that they were actually in a simulation, and it just was a very good one. And the physics of it were vastly different than what one would assume, especially when looking at the past, emanations of Matrix or simulation movies. Because at one point, because of how they did the exiting of the simulation incorrectly, it brought aspects of the simulation into the real world, which sounds very like that doesn't make any sense. But again, the fact of it is, she didn't know the physics of this. This was all experimentational. She didn't know what it would do or what it would be capable of doing. And so that's essentially how I view this place. And because of that, I try not to make distinct decisions on what I think about this place or what it is. The only thing I'm fairly concrete on is that it doesn't feel natural to me. This doesn't feel like how we live, and I don't mean all people that are here. I mean us. Anyone that kind of resonates with a lot of what I say and has the traits that I talk about in those things. I'm not trying to tell you what you are or what you aren't, but I do feel, a kinship. Like we are very likely having the same type of experience as most likely the same type of beings outside of this place. And so, it really, it's something that I can't really ignore anymore. Like I've said before, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't stop noticing it. And a lot more of the experiences that you've had make a lot more sense. Man, I'm really, really pissed off. I'm not nearly as happy with this one as I was the original one. It just flowed, and I wasn't trying to recreate anything. Even that, I talked about some the brothers I'm in a group with where we have discussions and things like that, I was really pissed off when the video got eaten, and I was like, it just, obviously most beings would say, oh, it was just, it just happens sometimes. Fucked up shit happens sometimes. And sure, but the things that I said in this video are not nearly as like on point or poignant in the way that I want them to be. And in a way, you could almost argue that is the reason, that is the goal, to kind of like nudge you off your stride, to nudge you off your flow. And very often that seems to be successful. You can personify it, which is essentially what I'm doing, and call it something else. It's the same principle. And many psychologists and philosophers do the same. It's semantics, these are all just noises we make with our mouths that we've given value to. But how we're just trying to convey a thing, I don't know, man. I may try to collect myself, or maybe even rewatch the movie to get more of what I had back. But I think I'm just focusing so much on what I wasn't able to keep from the original video that I worry I'm not getting across what I was able to get across before. So, yeah, if you're interested in participating in the new aspect of my research, which has to do with, the concept of the simulation itself, and exploring the ideas of why you may have never potentially felt comfortable here, or always felt like something was off, or you have a predisposition to not wanting to be what is referred to as sober here. And that doesn't just mean drugs. It means like if you don't feel comfortable without the chemicals that are released from working out, or from copious amounts of sex, or food, whatever it may be. If you're comfortable with being interviewed privately, I'll add, or publicly, whatever, then hit me up. The email is gammaauobsidian@gmail, gammaauobsidian@gmail. Same thing for Instagram. Also, if you would like to contribute and donate to my research, this new research, as well as the other research lines I'm doing, it is a big undertaking. It's very, very overwhelming at times, and especially when I'm trying to follow, I try not to avoid new ideas or new aspects like this one. And so when I have that happen, I don't get rid of another aspect or put another one on hold completely. It may go on the back burner, but it's still a part of my research. And so if you think about that, I'm just adding more stuff. Contributions are very, very much appreciated. Donations, are very, very appreciated. And if you do donate, if you do contribute, like, feel free to put a message with it, or a comment with it on PayPal, or send an email in tandem with it, and let me know if there's something that you want to see me talk about more or cover, or if there's something that you'd like to participate in, or you have an idea at all. Definitely do that, because that's kind of the goal of what I'm doing. I don't just want to be doing this by myself. I just don't want to have it taken over by someone else, meaning like academia, or someone that has their own research and just has money, so they want to take over the thing. It's very much appreciated when someone does donate or contribute, and I try to show that by like, hey, is there anything you want to see? Is there anything, you questions, anything at all? The PayPal is going to be in the description. It's also in the description of the channel itself. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with Patreon. I'm not making content for Patreon right now because of what happened the first time. And also, I didn't get any hits because it got sabotaged very quickly. But same thing there, gammaauobsidian. And I think you have to follow the link. I might have even taken the link down, but you can't search me. I'm shadow banned on Patreon because of what happened with the false reporting thing. But yeah, I may come back later. I may even redo this. I don't know. But I very much appreciate you hearing me out. And I love you, dog. Bye.